Hey guys, just Jim checking in. I'm really excited to leave this video today, and if it runs long, I'm sorry, but I'm really excited to do it because what a day it's been. So first of all, I'll give you. I'm not sure if this is going to be called my afternoon or my nighttime video. Depends how the rest of the night goes. It's about 5:30 here Central Time. So to kind of give you a little bit of an update about today, and I got that light up there. Let me hold this up. Maybe if I hold this up higher. I got a new selfie stick today. I'm trying to make that happen. Anyway, why is today so amazing that I want to talk about it? So probably the thing that you think is the most amazing to me is the least of the most amazing thing. Earlier today, bright and early, I walked across the Mississippi River on a bridge called the Eads Bridge, EADS. It was sort of overwhelming. It was almost, I don't want to be too dramatic and say prolific, that's not the word I'm looking for, but it was certainly a sign for me of how far I've come on this journey, starting day one of the 6th week. Pretty incredible when you think about that. Go look at a map right now and look at central Pennsylvania. I think I walked here for the most part. Now again, to those that don't know, I walked to Chicago. I drove down from Chicago to St. Louis because I got to take the desert out and avoid the Rockies if at all possible. Now that having been said, while I was walking through, I taken pictures of, taking pictures of the Gateway Arch of St. Louis, which is just an amazing tall monument. And some people said, hey, you got to go up in it. And I said, you know what, when am I going to get this chance again? How could I say I had a journey across America if I didn't even get to the Gateway? So I spent a good portion of the morning. Jamie and I were at the Arch, and I owe so much to her for making that part of it happen because financially I don't have a lot, and she was able to take care of that for me, and I greatly appreciate that in the memory. So, but that wasn't really the crazy part about today. So on my list of things I wanted to accomplish was to go into Ferguson, where there's some challenge, some renewed protests. Sorry about that, guys. I'm trying to hold this thing. And what if I hold this down? I don't know. Anyway, let me just hold it. I'm sorry. I usually talk with my hands. I'm much more comfortable that way. So it was important for me to try to get to Ferguson just to get the vibe and talk to some folks that I live 8 states away, and all I hear is what I read about in the news. But what was so important about the journey or the stop was exactly what transpired. So after the Gateway Arch, which was phenomenal, I made my way up to Ferguson. We walked a few miles in the town of Ferguson, and along the way I stopped and talked to folks. And it was funny, so I stopped and spoke to this woman and asked, hey, how's the community doing? And she said, well, they just had the anniversary and there's still some protesters, but the community is pretty civil. It's not a whole lot going on. And I said, but what's your recollection of what happened or how it happened? And I'm not going to share with what she said, but she told me what her knowledge of it was. And, certainly I don't know anything better than to go by what she said. And I kid you not more than a mile up the road, maybe a mile and a half, I stopped to have lunch at some place, and I spoke to a gentleman who had a completely different recollection of how it went down. What I did find is that Ferguson as a town will forever be known to a lot of people and defined by a lot of people by this unfortunate incident. And it's unfortunate on both sides. Certainly a young man lost his life, and nobody wants or deserves that. And it's unfortunate that a community, I shouldn't say his community is divided, because as I saw today, what people are telling me, the community really isn't divided, but life has gone back on life as usual for a lot of these folks. But one of the things I thought was really interesting in that discussion, other than the fact that we're two completely different sides of the story, one of the people was saying how if you read some of the investigations were not done by the local police, but by the county, the state, and the federal investigated it. So when the decision was made to let this police officer go, it was investigated by 3 different jurisdictions, including our federal, the FBI. Another person's story or take on it was that this gentleman was simply hanging out at a place local neighborhood place that he goes to a lot, was accused of stealing something, and granted he didn't comply with the officer's demands, but had his hands in the air when he was shot. I wasn't there. I can't say. I can only tell you what the investigation shows. What I did find amazing was that within a 1 mile stretch of road, maybe let's even say on the far a 2 mile stretch of road, he had two residents of the community with completely different perspectives of how they saw that or how they heard it went down, and that just blew me away. That goes back to a lot of what I've said earlier. I've had some issues like that, in my own life from a work standpoint. As Dr. Phil always says to my kids right now, there's two sides. No matter how thin the pancake, there's two sides to it. And here within a 2 mile stretch, probably two of the first 3 or 4 people I talked to had completely varying recollections of it. So that part was pretty neat and pretty cool, just from that standpoint. Later on, I do have a place to stay tonight for those of you that are always worried about me. I'm going to be meeting a young lady named Mary, who's a friend of Max's. I met Max in Ohio. He served in the Peace Corps along with Mary. So anybody that gives up a couple of years of their life to me is a story, and I can't wait to meet her for that. But I made my way over to a town called Olivet, Missouri. And as I'm prone to do, I stopped at McDonald's, hopefully to recharge. Although this one has no outlets anywhere. I never saw this ever, no outlets. But I stopped in Olivet and I got a few things, and I'm sitting in here right now. I'm at the table, and I'm pointing to a table there, and a table there. And we were all just minding our business. This goes back to that indifference of us not being at least decent enough to talk with each other. So all of a sudden, there's a TV on talking politics, and it just became a talking point for 3 or 4 of us. I'm trying not to insult anybody, because I don't know people's ages. But I'm pointing to him right now, Hutcher, which you're going to see a couple of posts I've already made about him. An 89-year-old African-American man that served our country for 2 years in the Korean War, sitting down, having a soda, was with somebody else a little while ago. At the booth behind him is a young lady named Gloria. Gloria's an African-American woman. I'm going to guess, I try not to be rude, and I try not to be, I don't mean to be rude. I don't, say a number to make someone feel good. I'm going to think that Gloria might be 60 years old. Over here at the table, right back, over here across the little aisle, was a Caucasian man named Dale. Dale probably 50 years old, maybe between 50 and 60, I would guess. And there's myself, a 50-year-old Caucasian male sitting over here. It was the most amazing thing. If there's any day, I've had a couple of these now, that's going to determine or define what this journey is, it would be right here, right now, in this moment. 4 of us, all different ages, all different colors, not all different, 2 colors, 2 races, I don't want to say color, two races, just had conversations, civil discussion about politics, about race, about guns, about education, about a bunch of other things. You talk about the movie Barbershop, where that's where everybody goes to talk, and this was what I envision as like what goes on at the barbershop. It just blows me away. And to give you an idea, I'm here not to preach to people, but to share thoughts with you. Gloria made a comment, we were talking politics, that I thought was something that was so profound. So this is just the way our country is set up. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I thought what she said gave cause to think about something. So much like myself, I'm hopeful that our politicians will vote on bills not based on partisanship, but upon what the right thing is. And as individuals in our country, we should not be voting necessarily with the party, but with the candidate and what they stand for. And I don't know a lot about politics. I choose not to know a lot about politics. But my understanding is simply this. If you're a registered Republican, you can only vote in the Republican primary. If you're a registered Democrat, you can only vote in the Democratic primary. Now, we all have an opportunity to vote in the presidential election, but by that point, you're only down, to two with one nominee from each party, and of course the others, the independents and the libertarians and anybody else that's out there. But why does it have to be that way? Gloria made this point, right? She acknowledges she's registered one way. I won't say what, she doesn't have to be out there, but she's registered one way. But that doesn't mean she can't have an opinion on the other candidates. So let's just say she's an independent for the sake of this argument. To the best of my knowledge, independents can't vote in the primary because they're not affiliated or aligned with a particular party. So, but let's say there's a certain Republican candidate that moves her. Let's say there's a certain Democratic candidate that moves her. She doesn't have the opportunity to vote for that candidate. Why shouldn't she have a vote the same way she does for president just because it's the other party? I think it makes perfect sense, honestly. Now, maybe there's a reason because I guess, the left-wingers would vote for the most left-wing conservative, and the conservatives would vote for the most right-wing. I guess, maybe I'm answering my own question as we go. Maybe it wouldn't work that way because we'd have everybody voting. But why is it that as an American, we're limited into who we can vote for? Maybe we identify with a specific candidate for the other party, and yet we can't offer our opinion or our vote on that. I just thought it was a pretty decent idea. I guess in essence, maybe it would cost too much. I don't know, because you basically have a national election for primaries as well as for the presidential election. I don't know, but we talked about, like I said, gun, and there was no raising voices. They heard me and the point the thumb, and they embraced some of that. There were points that Dale made and that Hutcher made. So guys, the fact that four people that met 30 minutes ago can sit down and talk about these things and touch each other and reach each other and give each other the time to listen to what the other had to say without stepping on their toes and trying to bully our point across, I thought was just pretty crazy, and pretty crazy in a good way. So I wanted to share that with you guys today. So I don't know if this will be my afternoon or night. But like I said, as a recap today, I've been to the Arch of St. Louis. I got into Ferguson and talked to some residents. Had probably one of the best 3 beers I've ever had in my entire life, by the way. But again, difference of perspective, who you talk to. I talked to 2 people within 2 miles in the same town of a very, very significant event, and they had 2 completely polar opposite, understandings of what went down. That's our country, I guess. That's what opinion's about, and that's what, I guess. Anyway, and then I come here to the McDonald's to wait for Mary to kind of get home, which I think she might be now. I might reach out to her and start heading over that way. And again, just an amazing day for me. This is the stuff that gets me pumped up to carry on 20 miles tomorrow. I hope that there's another day like this out there ahead of me. So thanks, guys, for listening. I love you all. I did send a couple posts out about Hutcher. Please read them. One of the most amazing days I had on the journey, amazing moments, was meeting Mary at Honor Flight Chicago. And she mentioned that there's Honor Flight National, and you can drill down to the local chapters. I've got Hutcher's number. This is an 89-year-old Korean War veteran that may or may not have ever gotten the recognition he deserves. He's never been on an honor flight. Why don't we, look, I'll write the application. I just don't know how to quite do it. So if you guys can drill into that, find out where, when, how, why. If somebody wants to write in his behalf, I've got his number. Reach out to me, and that's what we got. So I love you guys. Stay in touch. I'll keep you updated. Missouri, the show me state. Here I come. Oh, by the way, while I'm out here, that dawns on me. There's one of my favorite comedians. I'm talking about stand-up comedy. One of my most favorite comedians, Kathleen Madigan, I think was born or maybe still lives in Missouri. I don't know where. But you want to hear some great comedy, go research Kathleen Madigan and get one of her Netflix specials or one of her DVDs or whatever. Love her. Just love her. So anyway, thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.